The fifth blind spot is creating dependency instead of participation. This one matters a lot to me. Many people in pain end up in a passive role. The rhythm becomes something like this. They flare up, they seek treatment, they feel better for a while, then the symptoms return and they go back for the next round of treatment. Now, I want to be careful here because treatment can be very useful. I'm not dismissing it. I give treatment myself. Sometimes it's a very important part of what helps someone move forward. But if the client gradually comes to believe that the only way they can be okay is if someone else is doing something to them, then we may be helping in one sense while creating a longer-term problem in another. Because the goal should be to help people become more capable, not more dependent. That does not mean the client has to do everything alone. It does not mean treatment should disappear. It means the overall direction should be towards greater understanding, more confidence, better self-awareness, and more active participation in the recovery process. In practical terms, that means helping the person understand what influences their symptoms, what helps them feel safer, how to pace better, how to interpret flare-ups, what they can begin doing between sessions, and where they actually have some influence over the system. And I think this is where the distinction between blame and responsibility becomes so important. Blame says you caused this. Participation says you may have some influence over where this goes next. Those are completely different messages. Blaming is shaming. Participation is empowering. A good practitioner should not leave the client feeling powerless. They should, over time, help the client become more informed, more capable, and less frightened of their own body. So I think some really useful reflection questions here are, am I helping this person understand their own pattern? Do they know why we are doing what we are doing? Are they becoming more confident over time? Am I educating as well as treating? Am I helping them rely more on understanding and capacity and less on repeated external rescue? Because for me, the end goal of pain care is not endless appointments. The end goal is greater freedom. And the more persistent the pain, the more important it becomes that the person develops agency, not just reliance. So what does a better model look like? For me, it does not mean rejecting everything that already exists. It means keeping the valuable parts and putting them inside a wider frame. Good assessment still matters. Anatomy still matters. Biomechanics still matters. Tissue healing matters. Exercise progression matters. Hands-on work can matter a great deal when it's used appropriately. What changes is not that those things stop being important. What changes is the way we hold them. Instead of looking only at the painful structure, we start looking at the person who is living through the pain. That means taking seriously not just what is happening mechanically, but also what is happening physiologically, emotionally, neurologically, behaviorally, and relationally. It means understanding that pain does not happen in a vacuum. It happens inside a person with a history, a lifestyle, a stress load, habits, beliefs, compensations, and a nervous system that is constantly trying to decide how protective it needs to be. It also means recognizing that recovery is not just about what the practitioner does. It's also about how well the client understands the pattern they are in, how actively they can participate in changing it, and whether the practitioner is willing to collaborate when the case clearly needs more than one professional lens. That, to me, is what a better model looks like. Not simpler, not more fashionable, just broader, more honest, and more human. And I think that's the direction pain care needs to move in if we are serious about helping people with persistent pain in a way that actually lasts. If this sparks something for you, there's a much deeper conversation in the full episode. You can watch it here on YouTube or on Spotify, or listen on Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe, and stay connected for more.